Hi, this is Maryam and Nina, and you're in the loop. Today is Thursday, March 7th, and we're here at the Toronto Cricket Skating and Curling Club, and we've had a chance to sit down with the renowned Olympic-level figure skating coach, the one and only Brian Orser.
So I think the question that we wanted to start with is, it's a two-parter technically. So first one would be, you've had to deal with skaters getting ready for competitions after like a hiatus or coming back from injury or a hiatus induced by an injury. And like, what's the biggest challenge that you find about that sort of process?
Coming back from let's say an injury, for instance, it's really quite critical that we have some kind of plan, because normally the athlete wants to be back to where they were in a really short amount of time, and that's impossible. And so having some sort of plan, listening to your body, taking the time to have your body fit enough to try to achieve, to get where you were.
Yeah.
And I think the most common thing with any athlete, because I could say that because I was a skater, is that you become impatient.
Yeah.
And you just want to be there, and it becomes frustrating. So you're really kind of like in quicksand, and you're really not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot last year from heading towards Olympics with Yuzu, that he exercised a lot of patience, and he had great medical and physiotherapists, that he had these little mini goals to try to achieve every single day.
Yeah.
And without trying to get to competition readiness, in a few days. I mean, it's impossible. So I learned a lot from him and his patience, and he was doing a lot of advice training, and there were a lot of things that he worked on separate from the actual jumping and spinning and run-throughs.
Yeah.
So he did a lot of mental training, a lot of imagery, a lot of visualization. So while everybody else was, doing the physical training, he was working on the mental and getting it even way beyond what he would normally have. So that was kind of like his strength last year, and so I've learned a lot from that as well. So using the time wisely and focusing on things that you would not normally work on.
Yeah.
So that was my lesson, and that's what I try to work on with the kids now when they're trying to come back from some kind of break or, but it's being physically prepared.
How do you gauge, because you mentioned obviously you're not going to get back to where you were, quote unquote. How do you gauge when someone is ready to come back then? Or how do you figure out at what level should you try to hit if you're not trying to go for before an injury?
I think it's just listening to your body and working. You can't do it on your own. You have to work with somebody. Now my stuff is on the ice. So with the other athletes and who have gone through situations and injuries or whatever, they work very closely with their therapist, with their physical therapist. So they, you have to be physically ready to get back on the ice and do what we require, and you have to take baby steps. With Yuzu coming back, it was just to be able to do some turns, just to be able to do a bit of stroking, and then to do single jumps,
Yes.
But at the same time, he was doing hours and hours and hours of training off the ice to get his body ready to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just taking baby steps.
For the mental part of getting over injuries or getting back to where you were, do you think having a sports psychologist is necessary, or can you kind of get on it from previous experience from help with coaches?
I think, sure. I think having a sports psychologist, some people work with them regularly. I did. But I think you can't just all of a sudden start working with a sports psychologist because of the injury. I think it's just communication with the therapist and communication with the coach. And again, to have a plan and to have something on paper of what we're going to achieve this week, what we're going to try to achieve today, where do we want to be in 3 weeks from now. I know with Yuzu going to Olympics, I knew that he could peak and be ready in a period of 6 weeks. And from the time that he was starting to recover from his injury, it was literally 6 weeks to the long program at the Olympics. So that's psychology in itself, because it was like, okay, I know you can do this in 6 weeks. We've done it before in 6 weeks. And guess what? We have 6 weeks. You know, so there was like a big kind of pressure off of our shoulders.
It wasn't a total unknown in that regard.
Yeah, and now I don't know how we would manage it if we only had 4 weeks. The mind is incredible. And so would he be ready in 4 weeks? I guess we will never know, because I don't have a crystal ball. But we had the 6 weeks, and it's been tested and true. And 6 weeks was our kind of our magic amount of time.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple times like physical therapists, other people, and a lot of top skaters are working with like coaching teams. Where do you think that like your role as the coach fits in that, and how much involvement do you think, like how do you feel that the team gets directed or gets like that?
Well, I think the key word is directing, and I think that's where I'm pretty strong.
Okay.
I mean, of course, I have my skills technically. You know, I can help somebody, fix a triple axel or teach somebody a double toe. So I have some technical skills. But as far as what I do here and how I've kind of evolved into the role that I have now, that I would have to say, pretty good at managing a high-level athlete. So managing their off-ice training and managing their physical therapy and managing their day-to-day work, coming into every day and having a good energy, because I'm all about energy. I can see when somebody comes in, just the way they walk past my office. When I just see the body walk by, I can just tell by that what kind of day it's going to be for that person.
How do you moderate based on that sort of thing?
Well, sometimes you just have to go, okay, I need to sort of give them a little bit of a boost, and just the way I come out and motivate some of the other kids and include that person, and we may do some stuff as a group just to get the energy going. There are times where you just have to let them have that mediocre energy, and then plan what we're going to do based on what that energy level is. So you can't always have a high energy, and you can't always just sort of randomly hope that you have a high energy. So there's times where you have to, you need to sort of give it a bit of a spark and get it going. Yeah. And then there's times where you just have to let it be and work on things that you need to work on in that sort of margin of energy. Yeah. But it's really, for me, I really base a lot of it on energy, and energy is based on rest and recovery. There are times where I've got a skater where they've been pushing hard, and it's a midweek, and I don't normally do this, but I'll say, you know what, you need to go home. You need to go and get some rest, go get a massage, or it's like, okay, let's just push this through for this next session, because you're going to take tomorrow off. It's like, what? I'm taking Thursday off? Yes, you are. And then this is what you're going to do. I don't want you sitting around on PlayStation all day long. This is like my Javier Fernandez day. So, but it's like, have a plan. Get up at your normal time. Go get a massage. Get some fresh air, whatever it is. But it's an active rest, and it's a change from what we're doing. And then lo and behold, he comes in on the Friday, and he's got back to that energy that we're looking for. Yeah. And then just even planning when you see somebody with good energy, what did you do today to get that energy going? What did you do last night or yesterday? Because we need this energy at a competition. We need this for the long program day. I just had this conversation with Evgenia. Her second session was amazing, and she had a different energy. There was a lightness to her skating, and there was a quickness to her jumps, and it was like, I was like, so let's acknowledge it and figure out. I don't want to take any chances and just be like, let's hope you compete on that day and have the same feeling and that same energy, but you can manage it. You can manipulate that. So the first session was okay. And the second session was great, and she just said, yesterday I just rested. Okay, well, so rest is the key. Because she's used to just pounding, more and more and more and more and more. And there's a time and a place for all of that. But now, as an adult and competing, you have to be quite strategic, and you have to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, and not just hope. There's lots
Like
of little kids, they just hope that they skate well, and they come up with the energy. But
Like approaching rest as part of training.
yeah, it really is. And what you watch on television, or if you go down and see a show and get some culture, or whatever it is that motivates you, and inspires you, you know, these are all parts of the puzzle. Because I don't want to go to a big competition and just roll the dice.
Yeah.
You want to control the variables that you can.
Control every bit of the way, and that but it's not only me controlling; it's them taking some control too. So that's kind of my role in all this.
Yeah.
And it's going to be already. I've switched gears a little bit with some skaters for next season, trying to find some music, trying to find what direction we're going to go with them for their next competitive season. I get involved in the costume. You know, I don't design. Some of the kids I actually design costumes, but I'll be, you know, find the right people and the right people to cut the music.
Yeah.
You know, and what we're trying to achieve here with the music and what journey are we taking this panel of judges on. You know, there's so many parts of it, and it makes my head spin. Pardon the pun.
So what's the most rewarding part of being a coach?
Just seeing it all come to fruition. There are some days when Tracy and I are out there and we've got all these amazing athletes, and it's just like kind of a well-greased machine that is just moving. All the parts are all moving smoothly, and there's like a nice harmony with the session. Everybody's on a good energy and they're doing their things, and we just stand back and we just watch it, you know. And we go, wow, like this is good skating. We are really lucky.
Yeah.
But then you can't become complacent as well, because as soon as that happens, the wheels fall off. So you have to keep it well greased, and then there's days where it doesn't, and sometimes we just have to accept that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how else do you judge yourself as how you're doing as a coach? How do you know if you're doing an effective job beyond, I guess, someone's placements at a competition? How do you tell day to day? I just like to see that we can make a small difference even on the day-to-day thing with an athlete. Even if it's, you know, we have our little meetings in my office, Tracy comes in, the athlete comes in, what's going on, how can we help, you know? Yeah.
And not a matter of sort of hearing excuses, it's just a matter of talking through stuff.
Okay.
And we're here for you, and you are this good as a skater, and we can see more from you, but how can we help you get there? And it's not a matter of cracking the whip and saying, you know, do it again, be better. So when it does happen and we see that we've made a little difference, then that's rewarding. When they go to a competition and they, you know, they come off the ice and we get to the kiss and cry and everybody's really happy, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
When I see that, you know, they do that fist pumping at the end of the program, that makes me happy, because I know that's what they're capable of, and you know, and if the result comes along with it, that's awesome. You know, and it's nice, it's fun to have great results. And
of course.
And I'm not competing with other coaches, and I'm not trying to have any records for the most Olympic champions. I'm just doing my job, and if we produce them along the way, we produce them along the way.
Going back to your competitive career, what's a memory that you cherish the most?
I don't know. I mean, there are, of course, you know, there's the results. You know, being a world champion is pretty exciting. And you know, Olympics carrying the flag into the opening ceremonies at the Olympics in Canada, that was exciting. I just love to skate. So I remember some really magical moments that nobody else saw. That I would be on my ice, and I was up in Aurelia where I trained, and it was not a great rink, but we had amazing ice, and we had a pretty good sound system, and there would be times where it would just be me on the ice, and I'd put on music, and there was nobody. Maybe the Zamboni driver saw something. There would be
the Zamboni driver seal.
Well, and it's funny because there'd be times where I'd be, you know, usually these guys are maintenance guys, and they're working on whatever, but there'd be times where I'd be just going through my stuff and improvising and doing big jumps, and then I'd see that person had stopped to watch. Like I had this.
Well, that seems like a compliment.
That's a huge compliment. But this one guy, and I'm trying to remember his name now, but anyway, and he would stop and watch, and he was like, "Okay, this is like." I've really done something great here.
Yeah.
So those are my best memories, just those,
Yeah.
days of skating.
So there are a lot of moments when, so at some point during your career, you may feel like someone's like the skater might feel like they're stuck or on a plateau. Do you have any advice as a former skater for how to get over those, as well as a coach?
There are so many variables to,
I guess,
an athlete's journey. And it can be, there's so many, whether it's things at home, things at school, bodies changing, growing, injuries. There are all kinds of things. And the thing is, and not everybody will go through to become, a world champion or a national champion. What's important to me is that they love skating. And sometimes we don't accomplish the big goals, but it's having them understand that everything that they learn in skating and this journey that we're on, it helps them in everything in life. It helps them, like for instance, when I was teaching Christina Gabb, she was a girl from the US, and she was a beautiful skater. She was with us for 5 years, and she accomplished some great things. And she went to the Junior World Championships a few times, and she did some really great things. She was never a U.S. champion in the senior. She was never on the podium at the Worlds, but she was a really good skater. And she was really clever, and she took everything she learned in skating, and even the disappointments, applied it to, her academics. And at the age of 17, she got accepted to Harvard.
Oh, wow.
And it was, and she would take, 2 days a week, and she'd go and train for her SATs.
Oh, wow.
Even here, 6 hours this day, 6 hours that day. And it wasn't driven by any parents. She knew what she was capable of. And she got accepted to university, and then she had to leave us, and then she had to go to Boston, and she trained there, and she still continued to do well in the skating and managing going to school. But that was one of my biggest accomplishments, was that we helped her get those tools
that's
to
great.
do well. She'll be a great mom one day, and that she looks back on skating and she has a really good feeling about it.
That's all you can wish for.
And because there's nothing worse than when a skater defines themselves based on a result. If they don't get that result, they define themselves as something less. And I was guilty of that too, because I never won the gold at the Olympics. So I was kind of that loser guy that never made it. Everybody was expecting me to win, and it took me 10 years to get over it and have a perspective. And I'm probably a better coach because of it. And now I look back at it and I go, wow, that was good skating. And boy, the Battle of the Bryans really gave something to the sport of figure skating. And to media and to and television, and and I'm proud of that now. I was disappointed for the first 10 years after. I couldn't even watch it. Now I feel really good about it, but it takes time, and I'm not defined by whether I won gold or not.
But does it feel like a bit of a betrayal if a skater does a tonneau on a jump?
No, because now they do it with both hands over their head.
Well, that's not a tonneau, it's a rip-off.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so we've just got a couple then wrap-up questions.
Okay.
So what have been your favorite moments so far this season?
Ooh.
The season's gone by so fast. Feels like I was just at Autumn Classic.
June 1, to watch June 1 Chop kind of get into another sort of category of credibility in the
It's been great.
Medaling every competition.
Those bronzes.
He's done really well. And I'll take it. And then for him to do well at the Grand Prix final,
That's
was
such
really
a big
incredible.
deal.
Nationals with Joseph Fan for his free program. That was a great moment. And then sort of the Yuzu, it's always an exceptional moment with him, and going to Worlds next week is going to be mayhem. But it's kind of fun to be part of that whole, I don't know, even
in the thick of it,
all of it. But everybody has their role. Everybody's important. We kind of move as a big sort of as a nucleus, or and it's I marvel at the level of stardom, and that's exciting. And he keeps giving back to the sport, and he keeps taking the sport to new levels. And it's really and to see him here and training, and you know, we don't get the perfection every single day. I mean, he's human.
Yeah.
And, but it's quite a journey with him. Anytime with him, it's always quite a journey. Oh, and you know what? This season, the best moment of this whole season was when Javi won Europeans.
That's the single one?
That is the single one. I mean, the other
That's a good moment.
Great, but that was great because...
What a perfect way to end it.
We've had 8 Europeans together. He's won 7.
Yeah.
And so we did 7 in a row. That was just crazy. And I looked back at, you know, I was watching on YouTube the very first one. It came 5th or 6th or something. And then and only 1 was the next year, but he was a baby. He was only 19 or something. Yeah. So I looked, and then I'm looking at him now as a young man, and he's organized, so organized that he's able to go out and win. Mm-hmm. And we had a part of that, and you know, he was like our child, and it was really cool actually. And his family was there for this last one.
Yeah.
And family, parents are so thankful to us, not for teaching him skating, but to teach him some life skills. I mean, he came here on his own. He was kind of a loose cannon.
His young adult.
He was all over the place, and he was a bit irresponsible, but that's maybe a 19-year-old. But he had no direction, and so now he's very gracious and he's respectful, and he thanks people, and he has time for the fans.
Yeah.
And he got himself prepared in 3 weeks, and I don't know how he did that.
That's incredible.
That was a great moment, I have to say. That was maybe one of the best moments of my coaching career.
Aww.
Yeah.
Other than your own students, who do you really enjoy watching?
The top dancers, the French.
Yeah.
They don't have to be single skaters, so that.
I didn't say singles. Cizeron?
Yeah, love them. Yeah. And all 3 of our Canadian teams. Love them.
They're doing amazing this season.
They really are.
And I was always a Carolina Costner fan.
Who isn't?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So thank you everyone for listening. If you want more figure skating coverage, please head over to our website, inthelowpodcast.com, for all of your figure skating needs. Thanks and see you soon.